The intro rolling.
Okay, I'm going to turn my
about
mic.
a minute and a half.
All right, I'm going to turn my mic off. I can still hear you though.
All right.
Julie's turning the live stream on. All right, here we go.
this time, please stand as you may and remove any headgear as the Lacaparo Valley High School Band, directed by Mrs. Nicole Markworth, will play our Star Spangled Banner. Good afternoon. I would like to welcome you all to the Lacaparo Valley commencement for the class of 2021. This is a very special day for the 37 young men and women sitting before us today, and of course, you, their family, friends, teachers, and community members. Thank you to everyone for coming to celebrate with us today. Now for our formal student welcome, which will come from Kelsey Ludebar. Kelsey is the daughter of Corey and Rhonda Ludebar. She has one sister, Taylor, and one brother, Caden. Throughout her years at Lacaparo Valley, she's been involved in NHS, Student Council, Asset Builders, Yearbook, and drama. After high school, Kelsey plans to attend NDSU, and her major is undecided at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, Kelsey Ludebar.
Was not part of drama. He's just like that. All right. Do you even have the speech up here?
I forgot to flip for you like I told you.
Leave it to him.
Yep. There you go.
All right. Ooh, it's so hot in here. Is it just me? All right. So before I kick my speech off, I was given a task by the one and only Darby Biergon, and he makes bets with a lot of his students. And unfortunately, Mr. Kellen lost the bet, and you have to do 10 push-ups right here, right now, no ifs, ands, or buts. Go ahead, buddy. 1, 2, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.5, 10. No? All right. Anyways, welcome everyone to Lacaparo Valley's 2021 graduation ceremony. Thank you all for attending. I'm honored to have been given this opportunity to speak in front of you today, although I am still very shocked Mr. Swatsky even let me after all I put him through this year. About a week ago, I attended my sister's graduation ceremony, and you might be wondering how that even relates to any of this. But as I was listening to one of the speakers that day, one of them said how 98% of people don't remember graduation speeches unless they're very depressing and negative or someone swears. Mr. Swatsky says I'm not allowed to swear, so I will keep this short and sweet. For those of you who don't know my class, we are one special group of people. As special as we already are, we are also the 30th class to graduate from this school. Some staff members, Mr. Benson, are old enough to have been here for that many years and then some. I made the mistake of questioning if he was really younger than another teacher, and he's never really let it go. If you haven't gathered already, I'm not speechless often, but wow, I have no words to be able to express my appreciation for Mr. Sawatsky today. I'm not talking about him helping my class through high school. I'm talking about him doing everyone a favor and keeping that red shirt tucked away in the closet where it belongs. For those of you who don't know, and to keep a long story short, red is not his color. Anyways, enough about him. Class of 2021, we made it. Well, hopefully. We still have to turn in our caps and gowns and walk down to that office and hopefully receive that signed diploma. I remember walking into middle school where everyone smelled oh so good. Those were the days, am I right? I would love to disagree and say how awful those days really were, but I would do anything to have just one more week with my classmates, smelly or not. I never realized that when my parents told me getting old isn't all it's cracked up to be, they really weren't kidding. I hate when my parents are right. We now have to embrace the fact that maybe we are growing up and it's time to turn the page to the next chapter. I would keep talking, but I know most of you are ready to leave and go eat some food. With all that being said, seniors, I hope you succeed in all that you do, and hopefully this isn't the end of the end, but maybe just a new beginning. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelsey. At this time, the Lacaparo Valley Concert Choir, under the direction of Mr. Chad Felton, will perform May It Be. first student address will come from Cassidy Olson. Cassidy is the daughter of John and Dawn Olson. She has one brother, Ross, and while at Lacaparo Valley, she has been involved in volleyball, basketball, softball, student council, National Honor Society, and the YES Team. After high school, Cassidy plans to attend Minnesota State University Mankato, and her major is currently undecided. Ladies and gentlemen, Cassidy Olson.
It's here, the day we've all been waiting for, the day we close the door on our high school career and open the one that leads us to our future. This past year has been crazy to say the least. We walked out of school last March thinking that COVID would just blow over and we would all be back to finish out the school year in a couple of weeks. It was almost like a vacation. Obviously, COVID did not blow over and we did not come back. August came around and we still weren't sure if we were coming back. Thank goodness we did. While we have missed out on a couple of high school lasts that most seniors get in a typical year, we are thankful for the ones that we have received. We are all very thankful for Mr. Swatsky, Mr. Smith, and the rest of the LKPB staff for how hard they have worked to make it as normal as possible for us, even though we may complain sometimes. Many good memories have come from the Valley. In 4th grade, we were the so-called big dogs at the elementary schools. We were all so happy that we would be going out to the big school the next year. Then 5th grade rolled around and we were the little kids again. We started out 5th grade with around 60 people and now we're down to about 35. So I'd like to take a moment of silence for the ones that we've lost. Sherb taught us all how to drive perfectly and stop at stop signs, except for the one in the Target parking lot because Michaela said there was a tree in front of it. We all survived all of our classes in Mr. Benson's classroom. Every single day in 9th and 11th grade, we watched CNN 10 with Carl Azus. Those were 10 minutes of our lives that we'll never get back. Riggs taught us how to do Kung Fu after watching Kung Fu Panda for the first time. Virion taught us how to draw lighthouses. Mr. Clemenson taught us how to dice roll. We learned why the red onion was the best from Mr. Benson. Kellen taught us not to say hut when the opposing team is kicking a field goal. We learned to never eat Dove chocolate because there's a possibility that there are worms in it. And Eli taught us how to do the African anteater ritual dance from Can't Buy Me Love. This past year has flown by, and it feels like just yesterday we were all walking back into the school, with masks on, of course, in August. And now here we are, sitting at our graduation. This past year, we have walked off the court for the last time, taken our last Mr. Benson's test, talked to Shelley one last time at the office, experienced our last homecoming week, and attended our last prom. In less than an hour, we will walk out of those doors for the last time as students of Lacaparo Valley High School. As we walk out those doors, the rest of our lives begins. Life will be challenging, no doubt, but hopefully it won't be as hard as Mr. Benson's tests. I wish you all luck with your future endeavors, but always remember, as Mr. Benson says, you're special, just like everybody else.
Thank you, Cassidy. At this time, the Lacaparo Valley Band, under the direction of Mrs. Nicole Markworth, will perform Shallow. Our second student address will come from Ashley McFarland. Ashley is the daughter of Troy and Michelle McFarland. She has one sister, Megan. Throughout her years at Lacaparo Valley, she's been involved in Student Council, National Honor Society, Asset Builders, and Volleyball Manager. Ashley plans to attend South Dakota State University to earn her bachelor's degree in nursing. Ladies and gentlemen, Ashley McFarland.
Thanks, Mr. Swansky. Good afternoon. I am honored to be up here in front of all of you today as our class sits as a whole one last time. A timer with 2,210 days began on September 2nd of 2008. Our first day of kindergarten is the class of 2021. We stepped into the school building ready to learn the alphabet and how to add 1 plus 1. Although some of us still can't do that, times were simpler. The idea of time flies when you're having fun was all we knew. Those 5 years flew by in the blink of an eye. As the timer ticked down to 1,360 days as we walked into the big school, side by side, the two divided classes became one. 5th grade was extraordinary. We learned how caterpillars became butterflies and that coloring inside the lines was maybe an okay thing to do. 6th grade was a blast, for the boys at least. Drama was all us girls knew. Birthday parties and tutus tripped us up that year. Such problems we had. The year 2021 seemed like it was light years away. Junior high is pretty much a blur for most of us because we were too concerned that our grades actually counted freshman year. Although, the truth is, we didn't really do much in 9th grade except for watching Eli dance to the song from Can't Buy Me Love. Let's just say we had one proud counselor. Next up on the list was getting our driver's license. Now, I'm sure Sherb can attest to this, but I'm almost certain that 50% of this class shouldn't be out on the road at times. By 50%, I mean Michaela and Dylan, but that's beside the point. Sophomore year came as we all walked into Mr. Benson's classroom for the first time as terrified little high schoolers. You don't go through a week of rules for nothing. I guess we were just thankful to stop watching CNN 10 until the following year. I've heard enough Carl Azuz jokes in the past 4 years to fund Mr. Lowry's joke book for the next 2. We'll be thankful that our schedules were at least somewhat put together for most of high school. This got us to junior year at least. That was the beginning of our end. I would like to think most of you know what happened junior year. On March 16th, our version of normal ended. The 170 we were supposed to get turned into 120, an early summer break, if you will. Our lives as students deteriorated. The thought of getting up for school went out the window along with our motivation. With our heads hung low and our spirits even lower, we dreaded the idea of our senior year. For the past 17 years of our lives, we've waited for the last of the last and can only imagine we would have a normal school year. No one knew what was to come. After all, the 2-week break has been going on for 440 days. Exactly 12 years and 6 days later, we suited up for one last go-around. The final 170 left in our timer, but for us, 131 days will do. Normal was not seen this year, but the idea was definitely admired. No one ever thinks a pandemic will come and ruin your irreplaceable senior year, but for us, it did. Some of you may wonder, what happened in the last 131 days? The list could certainly go on, but I'll give you some good highlights. The day began with me taking the parking lot on 2 wheels at about 8:17 to get my parking spot next to Kelsey, who had already been there for 20 minutes, and Al Cal, who probably hadn't left home yet. Some of us had an English class this year. This taught us that writing a final research paper in the last 12 hours before it was due is indeed possible. Pre-calc was filled with thoughts of, when am I going to use this in life, and not so appropriate jokes. Sorry, Mr. Biergom, but you just can't draw lighthouses on the board and expect not to get a reaction out of 14-year-olds. For some of us, it was a fun-filled reading class. This, and any other class for that matter, taught us that if you're not interested in the first chapter, just stop reading. After this was my 4th hour. I'd be lying if I said I didn't eat one too many chocolates from my mom's desk. She has dreaded this day for the past 18 years, and if your graduation letters that came in the mail a few weeks ago had tears on them, it was probably from her. Believe it or not, there is someone in the school who does not want our class to leave. Next up was lunch, arguably the best part of the day. I've never seen anyone avoid our table more than Mr. Sorotsky during lunchtime. He kept saying something about him having the last word. I'm not sure what that's all about or why he would say that, but I'd like to think we were awfully nice to him this year. Physics came next, along with chemistry after that. I know Mrs. Regenhagen was delighted to have a class as good as ours back to back. I only cried once, the whole year. While we did have numerous worksheets in physics, most of the work time was filled with Eli talking about his stocks and cryptocurrency. Also, don't worry, Brandon, I will never forget that the centripetal force isn't actually a force. I still reminisce on the talk we had with Mrs. R about halfway through the year. You may wonder what the conversation was about. Well, let's just say a few students had the withdrawal date memorized, and the other half of us were still wondering what we were going to do to maybe get up our grades a little bit. I promise it's not as bad as it sounds. I mean, we're all here right now, right? Some of us had the honor of ending the day in senior social. Blessed, if you will. I know I've mentioned Eli one too many times in this speech, but his tax loophole is definitely one to be heard of. I'm not going to get into details on this one, but just know I don't think any other student has thought of this in the past 30 years. Mr. Benson always mentioned having a felony wall in his classroom as he sometimes sees former students in the newspaper. I'd like to think we'll all make it on the other wall, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. May the odds be ever in your favor. After school activities were a blast this year, at least the ones we got to go to. We'll forever hold in our hearts the defense chant at basketball games, and I'm sure Hayden won't let us down next year. And don't even get me started on the prom dance. It was definitely something to remember. To give you a quick glimpse, 2 6'5" guys were up in the front as I watched Macy take an elbow one too many times, as we all looked for ways to actually see the band. It started to hit us that night, no pun intended, that this would be our one and only for some of us, our big last as seniors. This is when we could begin to hear our timers tick down towards the end. The senior countdown began with about 30 days left of school. This is when living in the moment came into play, but it didn't hit us until our timers rang on May 26th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was goodbye, the last time we would ever walk the halls of Lac-Parle Valley as students. After 2,210 days, we had made it to the end. Families, friends, teachers, and many more are all the reasons we are standing here today achieving this great accomplishment. The amount of gratitude we have for every one of you goes beyond any of our expectations, and for that, we can't thank you enough. Soon, we will move our tassels to the left and throw our caps in the air. We did it, class of 2021. Although we will go down in history as the ones who didn't get much, it has been an absolute honor getting to know each and every one of you over the past 13 years as classmates. It is now time to reset our timers for the rest of our lives. This is just the beginning, and I genuinely wish you all the very best of luck in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. At this time, I would like to ask Braden Raditz to please come to the stage. Today, we honor our seniors on their academic accomplishments. Braden is the son of Dave and Stacy Raditz. He has one sister, Maggie. While at Lac-Parle Valley, he has been involved in robotics. After high school, Braden plans to attend the University of Minnesota for civil engineering. Today, I would like to congratulate Braden on being the salutatorian of the class of 2021. To earn this honor, Braden earned a cumulative GPA of 3.964. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in recognizing this year's salutatorian, Braden Raditz. Next, I would like to ask Carter Amlin to please come to the stage. Carter is the son of Josh Amlin and Angie Amlin. He has one brother, August, and one sister, Abigail. While at Lac-Parle Valley, he has been involved in football, baseball, robotics, National Honor Society, and band. After high school, Carter plans to attend South Dakota School of Mines and Technology for civil engineering. Today, I would like to congratulate Carter on being the valedictorian of the class of 2021. To earn this honor, Carter earned a cumulative GPA of 3.981. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in recognizing this year's valedictorian, Carter Amlin. At this time, time, we will watch the senior slideshow that was created by seniors Kelsey Ludebar and Macy Lund. I would like to give a special thanks to Kelsey and Macy for their hard work on this and their effort that they put into this presentation and their attempts to try to make sure that everybody got them pictures to be a part of the slideshow. So we hope you enjoy the show, and once we're ready, Mr. Lowry will hit the lights for us. Hold on, hold on.
Gotta go west.
You guys see?
Yep.
At this time, it is my pleasure to present to you the senior class of 2021. The senior class of 2021 has successfully completed the courses required by the Minnesota Department of Education and the Lacaparo Valley Board of Education and are now eligible to receive their diplomas from the Lacaparo Valley High School. Assisting with the distribution of diplomas is the Lacaparo Valley Board of Education members Scott Kahn, Danny Persicki, as well as Superintendent Greg Schmidt. Please hold your applause until all diplomas have been awarded. Will the first row please rise to receive your diplomas? Carter John Amland. Maverick Scott Kahn. Sierra Star Dunn. Mikey Michael Elias. Carly Jean Erickson. Phoenix Eduardo Gonzalez. Evan James Hegland. Mary Herman. Josephine Ioannis. Stephen James Johnson. Alexander James Kellen. Jack Thomas Kennedy. Braden Marvin Koosman. Kelsey Lee Ludabar. Elijah Elwood Lowry. Chloe Leanne Ludvigson. Macy Lynn Lund. Austin Michael Maddox. Ashley Lynn McFarland. Colton Curtis Mortensen. Michaela Marie Munsterman. Dylan Carter Nicholson. Brooklyn Elizabeth Olson. I've lost my train of thought. It's a long story. Cassidy Julia Olson. Cody George Osland. Wyatt Lynn Persicki. Dustin Thomas Piatter. Aaron Ponen. Jacinta M. Ponen. Braden David Raditz. Brandon Israel Rios. Austin John Rosendahl. Casinta Sander. S.K. Sepanan. Josie Marie Sherb. Alexandra Elizabeth Lorraine Stitt. And Mason Christopher Swenson. Graduates, please rise. At this time, please move your tassels from the right side to the left side of your caps. and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to our Lacaparo Valley 2021 graduates. So Ashley, the last word thing means that I give the last speech at graduation, so nothing left to be said when I'm done here. It's a powerful position I have right now. Congratulations, class of 2021. I am incredibly proud of you. Now, we all know that throughout high school there can be many challenges that are thrown our way. Many ups, many downs. Most of us sitting in the audience today have experienced that. Part of the educational process during your elementary and high school years, even though it's not written into the standards that teachers are required to teach, is learning how to handle and maneuver our way through these different ups and downs. Well, the hurdles that you've had to overcome this year, since March of last year and during this, your senior year, have undoubtedly been unique and something that I would have never guessed any of us would have had to experience in our lives. But you sit here before us having won the battle. You have persevered through an unprecedented time, and you have become stronger. You certainly should be confident that you can overcome any adversity that life throws your way. And I can say with confidence that you are prepared and you are ready for this next chapter of your life. But before you walk out of here as students of Lacaparo Valley for one final time, I have a few pieces of advice that I would like to share with you, and some of those pieces of advice may take us down a little bit down the memory lane. The first piece of advice I have for you is to be the reason why somebody believes in good people. You see, I knew I wanted to include this in my speech because about a month ago I had a personal experience. I had a $107 rebate from Menards that was just burning a hole in my pocket, and I had to spend it. So I wandered into the Menards store in Alexandria, Minnesota with my list in my hand and my $107 rebate. I wandered down the aisles, checked out all the tools that would probably cut my fingers off and I don't know how to use anyway. When I realized, I looked down at my list and I no longer had my $107 rebate. So I frantically searched the aisles, searched all of the different places I had been, went up to the cashiers, asked them if somebody had been through with the $107 rebate. I don't know what they were going to do. I even approached a gentleman who I saw an elderly gentleman, put a sheet of paper into his front pocket and said, "Sir, is that a rebate that you just found on the ground?" A smidge embarrassed. I knew at that moment I had crossed a line. I was very embarrassed for myself, and I looked at him and said, never mind, and turned and walked away. I went out to my pickup several times. I even drove the aisles of the Menards parking lot thinking maybe I dropped it out there and it would be blowing in the wind miraculously and I would find it. Well, the rebate was lost, and if any of you know my wife, she was incredibly unimpressed with me. But a man named Ivan Clausen from Columbia Heights, Minnesota, whom I've never met and never talked to, confirmed that there are many amazing people in this world. You see, roughly 1 week later, and after grueling days of my wife refusing to let this thing die, a letter showed up in the mail from Ivan Clausen from Columbia Heights, Minnesota, whom I've never talked to or never met, with a little letter that said, "I found this in the Menards aisle." So he sent the rebate back and confirmed that indeed there are good people in this world. So with that, I came up with a little experiment that I wanted to do today. As our graduates were getting ready in the theater, I had strategically dropped a $20 bill on the floor, wondering what our graduates would do if they came across a $20 bill that they knew was not theirs. I was hoping that they would do the right thing. And as I walked in, I can tell you, Oslin family, you should be very proud of Cody, because when we talked about the money, he said, "Oh, I found a $20 bill on the floor. Is it yours?" Cody, you want to come on up here real quick? Cody passed the test, and I guess I hope for you graduates, I hope that the feeling of doing the right thing far surpasses the $20 that he now has in his pocket, but we've got a room full of people that know that Cody Oslin is a quality young man. So thank you, Cody. And I'm confident that this class is a room full of people that will do the right thing. I've observed it. As a sophomore, I believe, in high school, Riley and I came into this gym later after a girls' basketball practice, and we watched Cassidy working on free throws relentlessly, working on footwork in the post, trying to improve her game to help her team out. Other players weren't around, other coaches weren't around. She was just doing the right thing, working as hard as she could. I've watched Wyatt be crowned as a king at prom. But even more importantly, I've watched a class embrace, support, and love him like a king from the day you met him. You all have good in your heart. Don't ever lose that. The next piece of advice I have for you is to be an opportunist. You've all heard the analogy about the glass half full of water, right? The optimist says it's half full, the pessimist says it's half empty, and the realist says there's water in there, right? I came across a letter that read, "Dear optimist, pessimist, and realist, while you were busy arguing about the glass of water, I drank it. Sincerely, opportunist." Kind of a cute little letter, but really the lesson in what you see depends on how you view it. So, in the theater, we had this container that I had you all look into, and you can't see it real well from up here. That's why I had you look at it in the theater. I'm going to ask Evan. Evan, what did you see in this theater, or in this container? He saw dirt, soil. Evan's from a farming family. That's a very realist approach to things right now, but maybe if I went to your dad and said, "Hey Ed, what do you see in this container?" He might look at it and say, "I see opportunity. I see money right here," right? So I challenge you to look at the world in an opportunist viewpoint. For the record, I saw dirt too. So as I was thinking about how to include this piece in the stories of your senior class, I immediately thought of Mary, Aaron, SK, Casinta, Josephine, Mikey, and Jacinta. They have become absolute trailblazers for their culture, as we have never had such a large group of our Micronesian students participate in extracurricular events at school, take pride in their academic successes and their attendance, and graduate with the intentions and goals of attending college. I stand before you, 7 today, and commend you for being opportunist. And I would like to stand before you today also and say thank you to your families for supporting your education, as well as your goals of taking advantage of the amazing things that life has to offer. Speaking of opportunists, I've had tears in my eyes as Ashley took the opportunity to write a letter to social media and to the press, as well as a list of wishes, well, maybe demands, to myself on what the senior class hoped could still happen this year as we battled the COVID restrictions. She was pleading for you, her classmates, as well as seniors and students all over the nation during this challenging time. And Ashley, that plea stuck with me, and I hope that most of those things were checked off the list. Now, Kelsey, being an opportunist does not mean you get to belittle people and make fun of their dressing color choices. As a matter of fact, I happen to really disagree on your stance on this.
Close your eyes, close your eyes. It's not going to be good. I'm just saying.
I think red is my color. It's a little snug, but COVID's been tough. So the last piece of advice that I have for you is, life is tough at times, but never, never, ever as tough as you are. And the thing about those tough times is you know that the better times, the best times are right around the corner. You see, in life, what you go through will help you get through anything. Sitting among you today are 3 classmates that have endured life-changing experiences. Josie with the loss of her mother, Koos with the loss of a brother, and Colton with a horrific accident. They've endured things far more challenging than COVID, finals, or some of the other inconveniences that life will throw your way. There may be others sitting among us today that have endured great hardships and we don't even know it. Today, you could be sitting next to someone who is trying their best to simply not fall apart. So whatever you do today and moving forward, I challenge you to do it with kindness in your heart. The pain that you will overcome in your life, take those lessons and use them to make a difference in the lives of other people. So I love quotes, and I feel like this is a quote that I want to share with you to end this final piece of advice, and it says, "Grapes must be crushed to make wine. Diamonds form under pressure. Olives are pressed to release oil, and seeds grow in darkness." So whenever you feel crushed, under pressure, pressed or in darkness, know that you are in a powerful place of transformation. Trust the process and know that everything is going to be okay. So class of 2021, congratulations on this milestone accomplishment. Thank you for the memories, the leadership, your work ethic, I guess even some fashion tips. I'm proud of you and I wish you all the best. I know there will be big things coming to each of you. Congratulations.